All right, so I'm going to record this demo. We'll talk a little more about making some certain types of walls. I saw some of you making curtain walls and storefronts and other sort of interesting glazed contraptions. So we'll talk about windows and wall types that you traditionally sort of think of as a glazed windows glass. And let me just open up my 767 demo file here. I'll do this in Revit. And so one of the things I think maybe David mentioned this yesterday. And that was that he was trying to make a curtain wall system. And you don't just do it by simply doing this and drawing a curtain wall. What you need to do is you need to make an architectural wall and then change it to the type curtain wall type. So let's just take a look at this really quickly. Um, you can see my grid. I'm just in looks like floor plan level 1. And I'm going to go to wall architectural, which is what we've been doing. I've been using a basic wall, generic 6-inch thick wall. And I've been drawing them with interior face so that I can draw them along the edge of slabs and have them sort of coexist with the existing floors that I drew, modeled. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go now, you can see there's all kinds of walls, concrete, lots of different types of exterior walls, foundation walls, generic interior partitions, soffits. And I was thinking that there's actually curtain wall. Where is? There should be curtain wall right here, and I don't see it. Most recently used types. It's like grayed out for me. So let me do this instead. Let me go back to, let's say, wall center line. And I'll just start drawing a set of walls here. Not very carefully, but I'll do it anyway. Hit escape when I'm done on my keyboard. And maybe I can then select these and change their type. So let's see if that changes anything here. It says curtain wall. No, none. No curtain wall. Oh no. So let me have that selected and say curtain wall by oh, curtain system. Creates a curtain system on the face of a master generic model. Yeah. So I really do want to, oh, actually I have a curtain system right here. It says 5 by 10. Oh, because it wants me to select a face. Let me just exit out of that. Sorry, this might appear confusing. It's not, of course it is. Let's see here. But it really should give me curtain wall, most recently used types, basic wall. Huh. It's not letting me actually make this a curtain wall, which seems odd to me. Hmm. Interior, exterior. Maybe I'm just missing it. Exterior. Oh, we have wood siding, wood shingle, split face CMU, ephes, brick. My goodness, we have every. Hmm. Well, that's not good. I wonder what's going on here. Curtain grid, volume, floor. It's not giving me a curtain wall option. Hmm. Let's take a look at this. Starts at level 1, 20 feet up, so a 20-foot tall wall. And it's not giving me a curtain wall option. Let me go into the 3D view since I don't like looking at plan all the time. Let's see what we have here. Oops. Axon. Sorry, let me just go to Axon. I'll turn the sun path off. Sun path off, thank you. I'll turn off the shadows too. Those look a little goofy because it's right at sunrise or something. All right. And right, so that one's a generic model that I would then select a face for. So for instance, if I had something in from Rhino and I wanted to turn it into a curtain wall, I could, right? Select multiple. Okay. Create system. Now you can see that with this thing selected, I can start to add mullions, I can change the grid, etc. Uh, all segments, one segment, you can say all segments, and then say, let's see here, mullions, all grid lines, and then give it all mullions, right? So that's simply taking my Rhino model and deploying a curtain wall on one of the faces. Let's say that one of the surfaces that I brought in from Rhino. So you can see if I delete this now, I still have my Revit curtain wall with mullions. However, to make new ones, I should just be able to use this. I should just be able to make a wall, architectural wall. And for whatever reason, it's not letting me do it. Of course it's not. Curtain wall. Let me again just select one of these existing walls I've made and see if I can just change it. Huh. I can change it to masonry wall. I can change it to interior partition. I can change it to if I change it to masonry, you actually see the 8-inch masonry. All right. Oh, I'll be darned. But under curtain wall, I have no curtain wall families. It's really odd. Yeah, my apologies. I thought this would actually work. And for some reason, it's not. Because this curtain wall system, if you try to use it, then it'll just want some sort of like, what it shows, right? A face, let's say from something I brought in from Rhino or something I just modeled here and Revit as something generic, like a generic massing. But to place walls and draw curtain walls, it should be right here. I don't understand why it's not showing up.
What if you type curtain wall in the search?
Yeah, I tried that. See, it's all grayed out still. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, that's weird.
Back at your desks, can you see curtain wall as one of the wall types for architectural wall types? Is anyone trying this out at their desk? I just don't understand why it's
I have
not.
the option,
Yeah,
so
yeah, I should too. I just don't understand why it's not letting me. Why it's not letting me have it. That's really weird. So I'll move on and talk about windows and doors really quickly. Then maybe I'll just restart Revit and see if that changes anything. It's really odd that it's doing that to me, though. Of course it is. Huh. Yeah, I just don't see curtain walls. And Anna, I know you're like the master of curtain walls right now. Revit curtain walls, you made a lot of them. But anyway, it's kind of odd that this isn't letting me do this. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about windows and doors. First of all, let me premise this by saying, if you go to the standard windows and doors, you're going to see a lot of like, I don't know, pretty lame looking windows and doors, things that you probably wouldn't put in a commercial project or a museum project. These sort of types. But I just want to show you guys what these do. Then I'll show you an example where I was making my own custom sort of windows by modifying, going back into the type and the group and the family of the windows and starting to modify, make my own. So anyway, if I start to place these, let's say in the ISO view, you can say I can start to place these according to plan. Let me place it up here, let's say. Okay. So you can see that it's dimensioned. I can, of course, change those dimensions. It looked like it's just sort of centered it haphazardly, 9'9" from either side of the wall. That's not a center dimension, that's edge to edge, which is kind of a weird thing to do, but let's see. One of the things you'll notice when I select the window is, again, you can set the height up here. So for instance, let's say I was putting these things in 3 dimensions in the ISO view. I can change the sill height, let's say, to 3'6" and hit apply. Right, it's going to change now the height in the elevation. Of course, sometimes it might be easier to actually do this in elevation view. Let's go to the south elevation, for instance. Right. So let's say I'm going to place a series of these windows, 48 by 60. Right, I can go to elevation and also typically see, typically try to line these up with the courses if I can, the rough opening. Right. And let's see, I put the sill at 3'6". Since I wasn't actually being very precise here, I can do the same thing here. Just sort of, again, make sure that when I dimension these things, oh, come on now. Now, again, I wouldn't necessarily consider these great windows at all. And so let me just show you an example where started making my own custom windows. Again, it talks to the level of sort of parametric capabilities of Revit. That when you're using things like windows, there's like families of windows. And you can go back in at the properties level, at the type level, and then at the family level to sort of start to change things, depending on how far back into the first principles you want to go. So let me just save this really quickly. It's one ugly CMU wall with some ugly windows, but whatever. And I'll just say open. Let's see. I just wanted maybe the sort of recents. Let's see. Oh, here. Recents are, come on now. Let's see, project 1, maybe. Let's try that. Right. So this was me playing around with Revit before class, and so here we go. Let me just try to move some of the Zoom interface out of the way here. Oh no, what happened there? Okay. Try to maybe disregard these awful looking cypress trees, but the idea that I could place outdoor columns out here as trees seemed fantastic to me. But here I have something just a plain window wall. And then I'm not even sure I added mullions to it. I think I had mullions along the edges. But then I was thinking maybe I would just have silicone gaskets between the glass, so sort of a butt joint rather than having mullions. Let's see here. And then this is a window. Let me show you this window. This is like one of those windows you see in, Arizona or Southern California, where you have this sort of steel projecting out, steel sill or steel frame, and then glass just sort of inset inside. Fairly minimal window. What's nice about this is that it's actually when the sun's sort of down lower from the east or the west, it starts to actually have these sort of vertical baffles to sort of keep some of the indirect light from coming in. So this was instance window fixed box. You can see that I got it from this silly family of just generic window. And then I went in and said edit by type. Right. So here I can start to change some things. And I could also, if I have this selected, I could say up here on the top, I could say edit its family. So this is where I think I did a lot of the editing to start with. I edited the family and I began to, let's see here. Sorry, view 1. All right. Began to sort of delete certain things away, get rid of a lot of the sort of sashing and things like that. Make sure I just have a basic frame, basic glazing, with a certain depth. And of course, every time I select one of these things, I can see its properties and begin to change things. So instead of having a sort of quite wide frame that goes around, I started to think about this maybe as something really interesting like Corten steel plate. It might only be half an inch thick, which is pretty substantial plate thickness, but for a window frame, it really sort of looks thin. And then extrusion start where it starts within the wall system on the inside, and then where it ends on the outside of the wall system. Right. So you can begin to sort of play around with these things. I'm just going to go ahead and close this, and it's going to ask me if I want to save any changes. I'm going to say no. So let me just show you how I went about this just a bit here. When it comes to these things. And of course, now that I have that new family, let me just show you really quickly before I start getting into too many details. Of course, you can see this model still has a green roof, green shaded roof. It's not even a good looking green. It's kind of like kind of a web safe system green. Right now I can start to make these windows in different sizes and different situations, right? So I can make something that's horizontal and sort of frames a view as a panorama. I can make something that's, sorry, let me just zoom in the right place. Vertical, right here where I have vertical circulation and a nice tall space. Let's see what else is in this model we can talk about. Let's see here. More curtain wall. Yeah. Weird that it didn't. And of course I put, I think, stairs and mezzanine, and I didn't actually put railing in the mezzanine, but stairs. All right. So let's talk about a few of these tools really quickly. Let me just place a window here. And let me just sort of find this, right? Instance window box fixed. Instance window fixed. Instance window box fixed. Okay, so I literally made copies of this instance window fixed. So I just put in a plain Jane generic window. Nothing fancy at all, right? But in fact, you can see that it has a sill that projects out further. The frame is sort of flush or maybe inset. Then we have another frame, then we have glass. And what's interesting about this is that you can see that I have a substantial wall thickness here. So anyway, let me just click on this window and I'll go to edit family, and I'll start to edit this thing and save a new sort of family type here in my model. So here's what it looks like, and I'm just going to drag it so you can sort of see three-dimensionally here in Axon view. But one of the things I'm going to do is just start to select some of these things and delete them away, the things I don't want. I don't want this inner frame, right? Let me just look a little closer here. I don't want, oops, I don't want that one either. Nope, I just got rid of the wrong thing. Let's see here. Okay, no, I guess that works. Now what I want to do is I want to pull the glass so that it's actually filling in where I got rid of the frame, the inner frame. Right. And so I'm just being very careful about making sure that I have everything in the right place, and I have what I want and not what I don't want. This feels like there's an inner box in here. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of that for sure. All right, now I'm just going to go ahead and drag these so that they sort of line up. This is just the glazing on the inside, right? Oops. Yeah, just want to pop that in. Um, let's see here. With this, then we can say custom extrusion start and end. This looks like it's -3 inches in, -1/2. Let's see here. Extrusion in, extrusion start. So let me just try adjusting these really quickly and see what happens. Oh, come on now. 12 inches and hit apply. We'll do something extreme. Okay. I didn't like that. Oh, I see. Here I can just do it here visually. Constraints, remove the constraints. Okay. And then I'll actually push that this way. Right. So you can see that I'm just basically changing the properties of this thing. And when I'm done with this, I'll say load into project and close and save it as something different. Right, which I think is important. So you don't accidentally destroy something, but you might have different edits. Frame mullion, solid void. Yeah, there's the frame and mullion. This is the glazing. Yep. Glass, subject, solid. There we go. So let's go load into project and close. Just click the open families you want to load the family into. And I'll say project 01. You want to save changes? Yes. Now it's going to ask me to name this. So now I'll have my own custom family in here to use. Okay. So this is the original instant window fixed family. Now I can look and see if I have the instant fixed new, whatever it is, or test. I think I put fixed box, fixed time, window fixed. Let's see here. Maybe I didn't load it into the right model. I don't know. Instant fixed. Let's see here. Should be one of my options, but something's weird on my system here. Anyway, I'll just pick one of these and change it. Right. So now you can see that this is wholly out there. And of course I can change things around. I can go back into the family and change that projection. But most likely I'm just going to change the dimensions, right? And so the height is probably be more like let's go with something like 5 feet, 60 inches. And let's keep it at 1'4". Why not? Right. So now you can start to make these windows, right? So you can begin to play around with these things. When it comes to the windows and doors, again, there's some pretty unimaginative windows and doors. Um, I will mention that when it comes to windows and doors and other sorts of families, I believe you can go to insert, let's see, load an Autodesk family, or you can load a family. So you can load an Autodesk family and it'll bring up in the cloud some other families that weren't loaded in the Revit. Some of them are like furniture and things like that. Again, they're not the greatest. What I will say is you can also load families that you get elsewhere that you make your own yourself. When it comes to furniture, just about any furniture company, if you go and look at their catalog, they usually have Revit files, Revit families that you can download and then start to add into your model. Let's say you're designing an office, you can go to Steelcase or Knoll or Herman Miller or Hayworth or whatever it is, and download families, and because they want you to spec their furniture and for your clients. So you can usually find these things online and then load them in if you want for some pre-built things like furniture, etc. And same thing with Windows, right? Windows manufacturers and things like folks like that will sometimes have their own custom families you can do it. Same with like, let's say cladding systems, aluminum panel cladding or precast, things like that. They might have things that you can download then to sort of use. Right? Okay. Anywho, just letting you know a little bit about this. Now let me just close Revit here. No, I don't want to save any changes. Just really odd that it wasn't letting me actually just draw curtain walls. I'm really, really taken aback by that. What I'll do is I'll just start a new file here in Revit, and I don't know what's going on. See if that changes anything. Come on, Revit. new and Imperial project. I'll hit OK. Sure, why not? Just waiting on this. All right, so we're on level 1 here and just a generic new Revit model, wall architectural. Sometime today. Here we go. Oh, here we go. Curtain wall. Right. So there's different types of curtain wall. We could do exterior glazing and or we could do something like storefront. But I mean, technically curtain walls used to refer to just about any wall that was sort of hung onto the frame slabs. But now we typically use it to talk about these sort of mullioned glass walls. So let's go with exterior glazing. And I'll just start to, yeah, it's right there now. I don't understand why it wasn't there to begin with. But I'm just going to draw some things in plan. Hit escape when I'm done. Let's go to 3D view, see what we have here. Right. So what you'll see is you have a very plain, just set of glazed panels here, just glass panels sitting here. I can do more here. Let's say wall architectural, curtain wall glazing. Right, and I can begin to draw more of these things. All right. Not that I actually like that or anything. Okay. So now that I have this, now I can start to arrange things around, right? If I have a curtain wall, I can start to change the curtain grid. I can actually start to place things or drag things around using that. Let's see, when I select this, I can select each panel or each mullion or each joint, or I can select the whole wall. This gives you basically the basic wall dimensions. Let's see here. And then back to this, let's see. What I can also do is then I can say I want to add mullions. Now it's asking me, do I just want to add one along one grid line or just along one segment, or just select all the grid lines at once and then fill them with mullions. Again, you can see that the properties, I had a 2.5 inch by 5 inch rectangular mullion. That's actually quite beefy. These days, sometimes you don't even need mullions, but you can of course change that and make them a little less intrusive here. Let's see if I can select those mullions now. Come on now. Sorry, I have to go back to mullion. Okay. All grid lines. And you can see that again, I can go back through and begin to add these one by one. And again, if I go back to architectural and go back to curtain grid, then I can add more if I need to, right? So let's say I don't know why I would do this, but let's say all segments, one segment, all except picked. Not sure why it's, here we go, being this kind of crazy on me here. With this, I might just go to elevation. Let's see here, where elevations. Let's go to the south elevation, see what we have here. Yeah. Curtain grid. Now I can start to draw more grids if I need it. Let's say I can start to position these things. And of course, again, it's just the grid. If I want to add mullions, I select what type of mullion I want. And I start selecting the lines that I drew, right? So that's how you start to work with curtain walls. It's sometimes can be really frustrating if you're not sure what you're actually selecting at the time, but once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. In fact, it's quite nice. Okay. I don't know why it didn't work in my other file. I'm kind of curious about that. I'm just going to close this and then open up my other file and see what the heck was going on there. Let's see if I can get it to work now. But again, anytime I'm adding like, first of all, with curtain walls, like if you want a window wall, you add that as a wall type as a curtain wall or storefront, like I just did. If you're just want to insert a window into an opaque wall, then that's where you use the window component. Right? So let's see here, the window family, if you will. I'll tell it to open up this one. And here we go. Just don't know why it wasn't working. Very odd. Let's see here. Let me just go to Axon view again. Now I'll take this wall. Let's see. Oh yeah, now I have the options. For whatever reason, it just never loaded the options for me when I first. You could say not defined and just give it, I don't know what this will do, but maybe I'll just make this storefront. We can see what, again, right? It actually added all the mullions for me with this. Let's see, storefront, justification, beginning. You can edit by type, but before we do any of that, what we can do is we can say mullions, all grid lines. Let's see if we can change these around. You should be able to change the mullions once they're in, but for whatever reason, I'm not finding the option. Right? So anyway, that's a curtain wall. And of course I could go around and just sort of draw them if I wanted to, sort of window wall. It's unfortunate we're not really meeting in person, but when we do, I like to sort of walk people around downtown or walk people around campus, and we can take a look at different glazing systems because you'll see a variety, right? Curtain walls don't always have to have mullions. In fact, a lot of times for storefronts in urban areas now, the end thing to do is not have mullions, but to sort of think about sometimes you have glass mullions, or if you're not spanning too far, if the height isn't too much, you don't even need mullions at all. You just simply put silicone between the glass, bud joint it, and then bolt everything together with some hardware, rather than sort of sliding things into mullions. The mullions, I mean the sort of frame, right? The frames, the vertical and horizontal members that are usually aluminum. So you'll see oftentimes a variety of sort of glazing systems. And at some point, maybe we could always meet up and have a quick architectural field trip and talk about these things. Because again, if this is your first foray into architecture school, after a couple of weeks, you notice that you start looking at the built environment in a completely different way than you had before. So anyway, that's that. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else at the moment that might be helpful to you. Probably just enough to do some real damage here. So I think that's good. I will say that there are things like stairs, and you can begin to. We'll talk about stairs and maybe egress here in a little bit. I mean, I always try to sort of tie that in with, why we have the different types of circulation, vertical circulation that we do, and talk about circulation in general as it relates to code and fire safety, egress, as well as ADA and things like that. So, we always have to try to crash course everything in a summer, 10 weeks, but we'll talk about vertical circulation at some point and start talking more about stairs and why you have certain widths of stairs and circulation, why you have certain widths for hallways or paths, and why you have to have multiple means out of a building and etc. So let's see. Anything else? I'm drawing a blank at the moment. We went over windows. Doors are pretty much the same way. Again, you get the most the least imaginative doors in the entire universe here. They're pretty crappy looking. And so we can always think about entrance, and maybe I'll try to find some good examples of entrances, but we'll do precedent studies in studio where you'll see lots of good examples of thresholds and doors that aren't just like, hey, let's punch a 3'7" or 3 foot by 7 foot opening in the wall and plug in the cheapest door we can find. Like what Revit thinks we want to do. So anyway, keep that in mind. I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording and stop sharing. Let's just open it up for questions.